Here we are in the office of head coach of the Syracuse Crunch, Rob Zettler. Well, Rob, here we are. It is another month before the start of the Syracuse Crunch season begins, but the excitement level for you already in full swing here, as you said to Lindsey Kramer the other day. What right now, as you get ready to head off to Tampa Bay, is on your agenda?
Well, I'm actually pretty excited about the prospects this year. A couple real talented young guys coming in, which is going to be really fun to work with. Our staff has been meeting for the last little while, going over things we can do better as a staff, things we can do better as a team, things we can do better system-wise, just, looking for ways to improve our team. The search is never ending, as you know, you're always going. But I'm really excited about the year. I'm excited about the people we're bringing in. I'm excited about the type of character we have coming in the room. So it's all positive stuff.
And, of course, the hope springs eternal this time of year. This time versus last year, coming off a conference championship. But also, you have a new staff in place now for a full year coming back. You're now entering your third year with the organization. Mm-hmm. You feel more at home, more comfortable?
Yeah, I hesitate to use the word comfortable because I think being a little uncomfortable is always a good thing. You ask any coach, who'll probably tell you the same thing. It kind of keeps you on your toes. As a staff, I like to make sure we're always looking, always trying to find ways to improve in whatever that may mean. That may mean improvements in the dressing room, improvements in the weight room, improvements on the ice, obviously. So we look kind of for any avenue to do that. And, we've had a lot of conversations over the summer with, the people in Tampa and people here to try and make all that happen. And at the end of the day, all you see is what, goes on the ice and how we play on the ice. But all those little things add up to improvement on the ice.
And perhaps it's more a matter of being on the same page from top to bottom throughout the organization. We talk about Steve Yzerman and Julian Brisebois, who were put in place by Jeff Finnick back in 2010. Now 3 years for you here in Syracuse, entering your third season. Trent Cull and David Alexander are back. So if you could take us through what an average day is here at the office in terms of the things that you're digging into. A lot of people don't know about all the logistics that go on behind the scenes.
Well, we've gone through a lot of things this summer. Just to kind of go through everything. One, we're trying to shape up our dressing room a little bit, just put on a little bit of lipstick and switch it up a little bit so when the guys come in, they see a little bit of difference, so they know there's a little bit of change in the air and moving forward, trying to improve. As far as staff-wise goes, we've been meeting in the mornings trying to trying to figure out if we could be better as a staff and be more efficient as a staff. And what I mean by that is I want our staff to be, in with the players a little bit more, talking to the players a little bit more. At times you can, and you got to be careful of this as a coaching staff, you can find yourself watching video and trying to improve that way. And at the end of the day, it's about people and it's about players and it's about relationships. And if you can dig in deep on those relationships and build that trust factor with your players and your staff, then you got a better product. And so we're looking for ways to improve that area. Obviously looking for ways to improve our systems. A couple tweaks here and there that we're going to try. We're going to try in rookie camp to see how they look. We've been talking about kind of anything kind of across the board. But, when you start talking and you come up with ideas, different things spring out to you and conversations lead to good things. So we've been spending a lot of time together.
Right. And naturally, you have more time this offseason than you had last offseason. I know you want the shortest offseason possible, of course, but perhaps that has given an opportunity so you can flesh out these ideas. And when it comes down to it, you can think and talk all you want, but in just a couple of days, you're going to get to put these things in place, and that's got to be exciting.
It is. It's fun. And like I said before, we have a couple of young guys that are going to be really fun to work with in rookie camp. Obviously, the obvious guy is Jonathan Drouin, who will be with us for rookie camp in Nashville. He'll be fun to watch. But then you go down the list, and you got a first-round pick in Slater Cuckoo. You got Jake Dotchin coming in, Dylan Blugis. So all draft picks that we have a lot of, hopefully a lot of good things are in store for these kids, and it's our job to get them where they want to go.
And the rookie camp, of course, begins with a couple of days down in Tampa, and then you head with the rookie crew to Nashville. You've got a tournament there you guys participated in last year. So for the younger guys, what is the message, especially the new players who have not been through it before, who are starting this out? What message, what tone do you try to set?
Well, you try and set the work ethic, obviously, and what's expected. You give them a little bit of system so they can be somewhat organized in their play for the first 3 games. I mean, we have 2 practices before we can get on the ice and get into our first game. So it'll be somewhat limited, but the basics, our forecheck, what we want to do off face-offs, that type of thing. But the bottom line is these guys are here to show us their stuff, and you do what you do and go out there and try and do it to your best of your ability. And we want to take away anything that gets in the way of that. And to have guys, like, again, certainly don't want guys to be comfortable. We want them to be on their toes so they can show us their best assets moving forward. And it starts in the rookie camp because ultimately for a lot of these guys, it's a springboard into the big camp. And some guys, frankly, after the rookie tournament, we will no longer see. And some guys who we don't think we'll see will end up moving on with us to the big camp or coming with us to France, which is a big step. So for a lot of these kids, the first impression's a big one, and it starts on Thursday.
And you say show their assets. In other words, just making a team, you're looking at a lot more than that. You're looking at the interactions, the character, because those sorts of things might not mean an instant decision, hey, you're going to be on this roster or this roster, but you're looking at all those little things, whether it was the end of the regular season, the development camp, or this rookie camp coming up.
We look at all of it. I think for a couple guys, the Joel Vermeens, Henrik Aikkonen, those guys, the little experience they got for the 4 or 5 or 6 games at the end of the season last year, I think will really benefit those guys as far as coming in and kind of knowing what we want to do and feeling somewhat comfortable and the way we play. So that'll help those guys. But at the same time, again, those guys are trying to earn jobs. Ultimately, they don't want to be in Syracuse. They want to be in Tampa. And, what they do, you only have one chance to make a first impression. And actually, it starts before we get on the ice. It starts when we get in the weight room and we do all our testing. And we see then who has put in the work in the summertime. Because if you don't put in the work, we see it right away. And now there's a little bit of a target on you, right? So now you look on the ice, say, well, this guy didn't work very hard in the summertime. What's he going to do on the ice? If you eliminate that factor, put your work in the summertime, come in great shape. Now you're looking down the list. You say, this guy put his time in the summertime. What's he going to do on the ice? And you're looking for positive things instead. And
we can look back today at what happened last summer and see, okay, this person may have been a disappointment, but this person was a pleasant surprise. I remember Pat Verbeek using the word ecstatic to describe how the Lightning, in terms of Cedric Paquette and what he did.
Yeah.
And he's one of those guys who, and we could discuss who's on the bubble. There are some guys who were big players in Syracuse last year, who've been around maybe for a year or so. They could very well be in Tampa, and maybe somebody who was in Tampa last year might end up in Syracuse this year.
That always happens, and there's so many factors that get involved. You think you have a list of people who will be in Tampa and will be here, but the fact of the matter is there's open spots, and people that play well, we always seem to find a way to get them to Tampa. And and then you have the other stuff, the injuries, and that could potentially pile up. Knock on wood. Hopefully it doesn't. So you have to prepare for the moment and prepare for your opportunity. Don't wait for the opportunity for it to prepare. So it's guys getting ready, and he said like a Seti Paquette who potentially had stamped on his forehead 3 years with the Syracuse Crunch, all of a sudden found himself playing in a playoff series last year for Tampa Bay and doing very well down the stretch and in the playoffs. So he worked hard for it. It's his credit.
And we've seen so many talented players come up through the Crunch and into the NHL with Tampa Bay. Last year's playoff roster, of the 25 guys who were in the playoffs for the Lightning, 13 had also played for the Syracuse Crunch. I mean, that's really impressive. So given the way that the Crunch didn't make the playoffs, Lightning were knocked out in the first round, how is the organization stronger today than it was at the end of the last season?
Well, I think we have more depth. I think we have, if you look, if you kind of did a spreadsheet of Tampa Bay's potential lineup, our potential lineup, I could argue that we have a lot more depth than we did in the past. Probably a little bit more high-end skill offensively, and potentially, we got 2 young goalies who we're really excited about in Vasilevsky and Godlewski. So those 2 guys are a factor. And we have some high draft pick young defensemen that are coming in that we're pretty excited about as well. We were real happy with a guy like Luke Witkowski last year. Thought he came a long way. Then you got a guy like Slater Cuckoo who's going to come in and push him, and Dotchin will push him, Blugis will push him. These are all talented guys that had really strong junior careers that will hopefully continue that trend, develop, and continue to improve here.
And there has been a balance, and look at who's moved on from the AHL to the NHL. On the defensive side, Radko Gudas comes to mind.
Yep.
On the offensive side, of course, Tyler Johnson, and even before that, Corey Conacher. Is there a particular area of the team where you feel that this year's Syracuse Crunch might be even better than last year?